Alright, KD2ETP here. Let's try this again for the third time. So I did a video on what you should buy for your first radio when you're first get your tech license. And so this is going to be kind of a follow-up to that one. Because I had somebody ask about that. And the question was about antennas. What antennas? So, boy, that's a tough one. It's a loaded question. There's a ton of antennas out there, and so then it depends. Are you getting an HT? Are you running HF? You know, and then is it going to be mobile or a base? So there's a lot of variables that need to be taken into account when you're looking for your first antenna. So that being said, a lot of it depends on the money that you got. So let's take an HT, for instance. You can run with the standard rubber duck antennas that are on the HTs, and they work pretty good. Some of them work better than others. I noticed with some radios, the stock antennas are better than others. For instance, this TYT came with a real long whip antenna. It seems to work pretty good with this radio. I've tried other antennas on that. I'm not sure I gained much by putting on a aftermarket antenna, at least on the 2 meter side. I'm not sure on the 440 side. But there are extra antennas you can get. On my VX8, for instance, the Yaesu VX8 I have, and I don't have it down here. But that one in particular, I did buy the Diamond antenna. They make a tri-band antenna that works really well on that radio. They make one that has 6 meters in it, and then they have one that does 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and 220. That's the one I currently have on there. The one that had 6 meters, 2 meters, and 440, I broke the tip on, so I'll probably have to get a new one of them. In that particular case, those antennas seem to work quite a bit better than the stock Yaesu one. So that's something to be consider, you know, when you buy a radio, HT, let's say. And there's also some telescopic whips, and that worked pretty well. Oh, and I got one right here. This one was the one I was using in my 2 meter simplex video. It's just a 2 meter telescopic whip. It worked rather well doing that. Then there's some portable antennas you can get that you could hook up to an HT, which I got right here, but for some reason, oh, here. So here's a portable antenna I got for 2 meters and 440. It comes with, let's see, I haven't even opened this yet, so you can see it's still in the package. Oh, and this is one of the antennas I was telling you about that I was going to use for portable operation. So I bought this one. It's pretty neat. Folds out. You know, you got these fold out ends here like this, and it makes a little beam, and I'm going to play around with that with the HT, as well as I want to use it for the 818 and possibly even the 991A up at Field Day. I don't know, to play around with. So it comes with different length of telescopic whips here, so you can set it up for 2 meters. It comes with a whole set of them, and you know, this is another option if you're doing portable and you're trying to get some length on your antenna. So there's a bunch of different options, even for an HT. So let's move on to HF. What do you want for HF? Well, that's an interesting one in and of itself. So there's a ton of antennas out there, and do you want it to be portable? Do you want it to be a base station antenna? You know, how much money do you got is a big one with the the HF antennas, and even some of these 2 meter antennas. If you get into some of the larger beams and stuff like that, if you're running a base like the 991A, I might someday get a 15 element beam up on the roof. But for the HF, I don't know, there's wire, there's vertical, there's beams for that too. So if you have the money and the space, I highly recommend getting a beam. They're pretty pricey by the time you get done digging a big hole and filling it in with concrete and rebar and putting anchors in there and then setting a tower up, and then you got to buy a rotor, and then you got to have the beam on top of that. So the price can get pretty substantial with a beam. But by all means, if you have the means to do that, I would highly recommend it. It's probably the best HF antenna you're going to get is a beam antenna. However, but if you don't, there's a lot of other antennas out there that are good, and there's a lot of wire antennas, and there's a lot of verticals, and you'll see there's a bunch of videos on all different types of antennas. And it's been my experience. I've had off-center fed dipoles, end feds, regular dipoles, double bazooka, I don't know. Offhand, that's all I can think of for wire antennas, and I've had a few more, but I found that I can't say there's one that worked any better than the other. And so this year I'm going to test that. I found a perfect spot where I think it'd be great to set up a couple antennas at a time, and where the characteristics will be the same, and I'm going to do a head-to-head on that. But anyways, for what I've been doing up until this point in my ham radio life, I've found that there's really no advantage to anyone. Everybody's got their preference. I don't. I found that all of them, the wire antennas work good for me. I've had them run as inverted V's. I've had them run as flat tops. I've had them run as slopers, and boy, I don't know. They've all worked fine. And then the question is, do you have the space for the vertical or the wire antennas? And that's a big one to consider. I mean, you can get smaller ones for some of the higher bands, 10 meters and 15 and 17. Those are obviously much shorter, but if you get some of these long multi-band ones like an NFED or something like that, you could be putting up an antenna that's roughly 60 feet long. So, space is a concern. One antenna that I use quite a bit is a G5RV Junior. Not because it works any better than any of the other antennas. It just takes up less space. I can tune it from 40 down to 6, and it works pretty good. And it's a small, it fits in a small area. But some of the other antennas I really like that I've had good luck with is the off-center fed dipole. That's one of my favorites. Is it any better than the other antennas? No, it just so happens that I remember making contacts with that, good contacts with that. But I'm not sure that I've made any better contacts with that than I've made with other antennas. So, and then there's verticals. If you don't have the space, you want to throw something up quick. Verticals go up pretty quick typically, and it depends on what you get. Like this Sigma Eurocom antenna that you've seen in some of my videos recently. I had it on the worldwide single sideband DX competition or a contest there. Worked really well for that. That's a cheap antenna. It doesn't have to be really high up in the air. Easy to get on the air with. It's in the tuners that are in these two radios in particular seem to tune that antenna just fine on 40 through 6, even though it said that you should use an external tuner and that these will only do a 3-to-1. I found that they do a little better than that, roughly at least 5 or 6 to 1 they can tune out. So I don't know, the space, ease of installation, there's a bunch of considerations. So, and there is no magic antenna, People can say what they want. I've used them all. I've never found a magic antenna, one that I would say, I'm never going to buy another antenna but this antenna. And mostly because I like using them all. But, the thing is, you got to see how much space you got, where you're putting the antenna. Can you run a beam? Can you run wire? Can you put up a vertical? I don't know, there's just many options out there, and wire antennas are going to be cheaper, but you got to contend with how you're going to hang them, put them in trees. You got to worry about wind and stuff like that. Vertical antennas, another one, you got to figure out a way to mount them to your house, and brackets for that, and how to get them set up. So there's logistics to all of them that need to be considered when you're looking for your antenna. But again, like I said, there is no magic answer. Just take a look at your space, take a look at what you think you can get away with in the area that you're in, and try it out. It's going to work. If the bands are in good shape, the antenna is going to work for you. If the bands are in good shape, you could have the best antenna in the world, and it's not going to work for you. So I hope this helps people out. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm going to say 73. Please like and subscribe, or don't. It's up to you. And one thing I did want to mention is I just started a Facebook page for KD2 ETP. I'll be posting some stuff on there in the near future. I have not really posted anything on there yet, but there is links to my video. There's a link to my YouTube page on there, so if you're on Facebook and you want to see if I've done anything recently, you can just jump to the link and it'll bring you right to my YouTube channel. So that being said, 73 you all, KD2 ETP, and I'm out of here.